There is a lone lighthouse on a small island in the sea, home to a single parent, the lighthouse keeper, and his daughter Nemo, an 11-year-old girl. Nemo wakes up and hugs her little stuffed toy named Pig, with a morning greeting. As the horn blows, she goes to the window and watches out with binoculars, smiling. Then she steps down the spiral staircase and goes to the edge of the wooden platform of the crib. She welcomes her father with a hug, who sails back with a basket of food. He makes breakfast, then takes her sailing to teach her sea life. While reaching home, they sit around the table. Nemo is solving a math problem. She is perplexed about the need to study mathematics, as she will be taking care of the lighthouse in the future. Instead of answering, he calmly inquires about the purpose of the lighthouse. She asserts that it is to save the ships. He disagrees, and persuades her to find the purpose of the lighthouse, to win the key to it. As the evening approaches, they race up to the tower and light up the lantern room. At night, he takes her to bed and starts narrating the story of his friend Flip, like every night, to make her sleep. He and Flip were living the outlaw code life. They were sailing partners, wanting to find out the hidden treasures of the sea. One day, Flip proposed to find the magic pearls in the Sea of Nightmares, which can make any wish come true. He didn't want to go, so Flip did the double knock, which means not to leave your partner behind, according to the outlaw code. When they were sailing to find the pearls, a huge storm hit the boat and threw him away from Flip, into a whirlpool, which took him to a hole that was the entrance to the other side of the sea. There lay the magic pearls, but as he was about to grab one, a very huge squid-like monster with inky tentacles started approaching him. The phone bell breaks her mesmerism and her father leaves the story unfinished. She protests for him to continue the story, as he always stops the story there, intentionally. He smiles, and goes to the other end of the room to receive the call. After a while, he comes to her and recounts that a fishing boat is in trouble at sea, as there is a storm, and he has to take it out. He kisses her forehead and goes out, with a promise to finish the whole story next time. She hugs Pig and sleeps. While sleeping, she has a nightmare of a storm at sea that breaks down the lighthouse and takes her down to the depths, where she sees her father in the arms of a huge inky monster that swallows him up. She wakes up terrified and breathing heavily. After a while, she hears the horn blowing. She smiles and goes to the window with binoculars. Her smile fades when she finds the head of a rescue station at the harbor, along with her team, instead of her father. She runs down the staircase in trepidation. Carla hugs her somberly and relates that her father has been lost at sea. Nemo blanches after hearing the shocking news, and a tear rolls down her cheek. Carla takes her along to the rescue office, on the harbor. Her uncle, named Philip, has been contacted, as per her father's instructions. In the evening, the grieving Nemo performs the funeral rites of her father, while her uncle Philip is standing aside, detached. He formally shows grief over his brother's departure and takes Nemo along to his house in the city, where he lives all alone. When they arrive in the city, he vaguely tries to engage in conversation, while Nemo remains aloof, with a gloomy expression. He asserts that he designs knobs and locks, and works from home. He shows her an antique lock that has a connection with a prison cell in Alcatraz, a prison island. He fails to connect with her emotionally. Then he escorts her to her room. Nemo finds her pig lying on the bed, and she runs to grab it. Philip asks her if she needs a hug, robotically. She refuses. Then he goes out, closing the door behind him. She goes to a box and takes out her sweater, then hugs it as if hugging her father. Then takes out a picture of her father and wishes to be with him. In the meantime, Philip is doing his research on how to raise a child. While sleeping, Nemo has a supernatural dream, in which she is in wonderment at her pig jumping over the bed. Nemo screams with fear when the bed raises, and jumps out on the road. It walks through the road to the harbor, and her fear turns into joyful excitement when it swims to the lighthouse. In the lighthouse, she finds a tramp-like man with long hair, big horns, and fangs. He introduces himself as Flip. She is amazed to see him in reality, as she considered him only a story character. He has made a mess in her father's room, to find a map of Slumberland, the world of dreams. She expresses her ignorance about any map. He describes the map, as very huge with lines and marks, containing a picture of an oyster with a pearl on its back. He claims to walk in and out of anyone's dream. He adds that they are in Slumberland, and he is in her dream. She asks him to leave, as she only went there to see her father. He replies that he has been stuck in Slumberland, as he has not been woken up in the real world for ages, and now he has forgotten his identity in the real world, so he needs to find the magic pearls, to return to the real world. He starts throwing the stuff around to find the map. He tempts her, professing that she might be able to see her father if she reaches the magic pearls, but they need a map to reach it. She is, however, clueless about the map. He turns back, grabs her by the collar, and throws her out of the window to end her dream, because people wake up from dreams when they see any danger approaching. She wakes up, terrified. At that moment, Philip appears in the room with a glass of milk. She asks him about any weird dreams that he has ever had. He hands her the glass, stating that he never remembers his dreams. He leaves the room, informing her about her school admission. After breakfast, he takes her to school and requests a teacher to look after her, as she lost her father recently. The teacher assures him sympathetically that she will take care of her. Later, Nemo becomes acquainted with a fellow student named Jamal, who helps her adjust there. On Jamal's inquiry about living with her uncle, she fabricates a story with downcast eyes, saying that her father has gone on a trip, so she has moved to her uncle's house for some time. When she returns home, they both sit around the table. Philip tries to connect with her by doing an activity with her, as proposed by his research. Nemo looks incurious. Philip teaches her a trick to open an antique lock, with lock picks that he showed her earlier. Then asks her to open it. She shows her disinterest and walks toward her room. Philip looks disappointed at another failed attempt. At night she has another dream, in which she sees her pig jumping into the box of her stuff. Then it takes out a frame that contains a picture of an oyster with a pearl. She wakes up and goes to the box, hopeful. She finds the map there, which contains a paper listing the ingredients that are needed to go to Slumberland, which leads to the Sea of Nightmares containing the magic pearls. She dons the school uniform and slides Pig along with the ingredients, some food, a string, a flashlight, and a boring book, into her bag. When Philip drops her off at school, she asks for his phone, as she has to check her schedule. He gives his phone, with a smile at Nemo's changed behavior, as she has started the conversation on her own. Then she drops a text to the school that she is on a trip. She hands him the phone and goes into the school. She sneaks into the basement of the school and sets up the sleeping net. Then wears her sweater, clips the picture of her father at the front, and sleeps holding her bag. While sleeping, she steps into the lighthouse. Flip is still there, searching for the map. She shows him the map. Flip snatches it, and runs out of the door, to find his way to the treasure alone. She rushes behind him and insists he takes her along, as she has brought the map. He grins, holding the map tightly, and refuses to take her along, as there might be danger on the way to other people's dreams. He explains that if she finds a risk in her dream, she might wake up, but if she loses her life in somebody else's dream, she might not wake up again. Then he turns to go. She does the outlaw code that is a double knock, so he cannot refuse to take her along. He is startled to hear the double knock. He agrees to take her with him, on the condition to leave her alone if she slows him on the way to the treasure. She runs to him with joy. He cuts a little piece from the string and ties it around his finger, so she can find him again if she wakes up on their journey through Slumberland, and thrusts the rest back into her backpack. He also warns her about the dream cops of the Bureau of Subconscious Activities, who control dreams, and that if they catch them, they would be locked in their cell for eternity. He adds that there will be different hidden doors that lead them to the next dream. Nemo affirms he will take all the risks to find the magic pearls. They enter the dream world, following the map. First, they enter into a dream of a nun, who is partying and doing salsa. The map shows the door behind the stage. Agent Green, a dream cop, appears behind them. As she is about to arrest them, a very big inky monster of a nightmare creeps up. They run and escape into another dream. As they cross the door, Nemo disappears as she wakes up in the real world, after hearing the voice of Jamal, who steps down into the basement to take a look at the mushrooms that he has grown there secretly. She asks him to keep her presence a secret. Jamal agrees. Then, they both go out. Philip picks her up from the school and takes her to the harbor to show her a surprise gift, a boat that she can use to sail, along with Carla, as he cannot come with her. She mutters with an uncaring expression that he should sell it, as she does not like to sail anymore. At home, while having a meal, Philip's insistence to fit into city life torments her. She goes back to her room dejectedly. There, she lies on the bed and tries to sleep, so she can escape into Slumberland, but fails to fall asleep. Philip enters and narrates a story about knobs. She falls asleep, and Philip goes out. Nemo wakes up in Slumberland again, where she is happy to find Flip waiting for her. They are now in the dream of a little kid who is driving a garbage truck, and the door of the next dream is on the dashboard of the truck. They slide into the truck. Agent Green chases them there too. The truck falls from the bridge and starts sinking. Nemo opens the door, and they jump in before sinking into the depths. After a while, they come out of the flusher of the toilet. While they are entering another dream, Captain Green catches them. She locks Flip in a cell with an antique lock, and takes Nemo to her office. She declares that there is no place with magic pearls and wakes her up, suggesting she stays in the real world. Nemo wakes up in her room, disheartened. She holds her stuffed toy and goes to Philip, crestfallen. She opens up about her grief for her father's departure. They share memories of Nemo's father, which finally connects them emotionally. Philip shows her an old video of her father and him, when they used to live together. In the video, Philip wore a Flip-like costume and antlers. Philip divulges that they have the outlaw code, and a secret to be in each other's dreams through a string. He sighs, because when his brother got married and moved out, he became alone and stopped dreaming about Flip. Nemo's eyes start sparkling after knowing that Flip is Philip, in the real world. She perks up to prepare for school and asks for the lockpicks. Philip agrees to give her the lockpicks. At school, a student reveals to Jamal about the departure of Nemo's father, and her desolate emotional condition, which he overheard when Philip was talking to the teacher. Jamal runs to inform the teacher about Nemo's presence in the basement. Meanwhile, she slinks to the basement of the school and sleeps. She wakes up at the lighthouse. Then she runs to the cell where Flip has been locked up, after crossing all the dreams of Slumberland. She takes him out by opening the antique lock with the lockpicks. They escape into the final dream, where a man is riding a big swan. They are now just a door away from the Sea of Nightmares. Agent Green arrives there to stop them, but they escape successfully and cross the last door. By now, they are walking on the wooden platform over the stormy sea. As they are about to jump, Nemo reveals his identity in the real world, that he is her dad's brother Philip, and he has stopped dreaming after parting with his brother. That's why he has forgotten about himself. Flip becomes annoyed to know that he is a doorknob salesman, in the real world. He refuses to jump into the sea to find the pearls, as he does not want to go back to the real world, to be Philip. Meanwhile, Nemo has been woken up in the real world, by the teacher who arrives with Jamal. Philip has been called up to the school. When they return home, Philip fumes that he is going to arrange foster parents for her, as he is done with acting like a father. His outrageous behavior stuns her. She runs into her room and locks herself in, crying. At night, she grabs her backpack, along with Pig, and creeps out of the house. She reaches the harbor, and steps into the boat which Philip gifted her. A rainstorm hits the sea. She starts paddling to reach the lighthouse. At home, Philip goes to her room to apologize, but finds her nowhere. He contacts Carla to report Nemo being missing. They reach the harbor, because they expect she might be sailing back to the lighthouse, the only place she knows. When they do not find her boat there, they sail out on the rescue boat, to search for Nemo. On the way, she blacks out, leaving the boat at the mercy of waves. She wakes up in the Sea of Nightmares. She dives deeper, to search for the magic pearls. She crosses a dark hole and reaches the other side of the sea, which takes her to a whole new world, that completes the unfinished story of her father. There, she finds dazzling pearls, with enchanting beauty. She takes one and looks at it, in the hope of a reunion with her father. The inky monster starts approaching her from behind. As she turns back, the huge monster petrifies her. Meanwhile, in another dream, Flip is informed by a man flying a plane that he found Nemo, going toward the Sea of Nightmares. He jumps into the plane, and flies toward the Sea of Nightmares, to help Nemo. He takes Nemo on the plane before the monster can reach her, and they fly out of the door. She hugs him jubilantly for coming for her. He justifies his arrival, grinning, by saying that one can never leave his partner behind after the double knock, according to the outlaw code. The monster chases them. When they have crossed all their dreams, the pearl drops from Nemo's hand. As Flip runs back to grab it, the monster arrives and grasps Flip in one of its tentacles. While the monster is squeezing him, he throws the pearl toward Nemo, and asks her to run to the lighthouse. Nemo catches the pearl and closes her eyes, recalling her wish to meet her father. She smiles unwaveringly, and makes a wish for Flip to wake up. Flip disappears from the clutches of the monster. Meanwhile, Philip feels a wave travel through his body. By the time they find Nemo's boat, she is lying on the edge, almost falling out of the boat. They start approaching her, but she falls and starts drowning. Philip jumps into the sea to save her. He dives deep and pulls her onto the platform outside the lighthouse. The rescue team gives her oxygen and tries to wake her up. Philip begs her to wake up, crying. Concurrently, Nemo steps out of slumberland, dejected, as she cannot meet her father without the pearl. The lighthouse seems foggy. When she squeezes Pig, the pearl disgorges out of its mouth. She screams with happiness to have finally found it. She grabs it and runs to the lighthouse, where she meets her father. She runs into his arms, stating that life seems unkind without him, and she feels alone in the wide world. She unfolds the experiences she had in Slumberland. On his inquiry, she understands that the purpose of the lighthouse is to guide the ships. Her father hands her the key, with an affirmative smile. He adds that life in the real world will be difficult, but she should return and take care of his brother, Philip, as he is still wild at heart. She affirms with a smile and bids him farewell with a warm hug. She wakes up, coughing, in the real world. Philip clutches her, crying that he will never leave her alone again. In the last scene, Philip picks up Nemo from school and takes her sailing. On the boat, he screams with excitement as the Flip inside Philip has finally been awakened, which makes the doorknob salesman a bit wild for life. Nemo looks at him, giggling.